Everyone, hello, welcome to our guest for this month, Dr. Aisha Durrani. So excited to have you here today with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking, and hello to everyone in the group. Nice to meet you and hear from you today. I'm really excited to hear your questions and your feedback on the masterclass, and happy Women's Day to all of you brilliant ladies.
Yeah, happy International Women's Day. So hi to everyone who's here, by the way. Hi Ahlan, let us know who's joined us. So you're tuning in from Toronto, is that right?
Yep, so I'm in Toronto, Canada. It's 12 p.m. here. It's evening for you guys. It's a beautiful spring day. I'm hoping it's the same for you guys. It's a beautiful day today, and I'm hoping getting that some energy towards you guys as well.
Yes, bring it our way, please. Yeah. So hi Mira, hi Hanouf, welcome everybody. So we are just really excited to get into this topic today. Hi Nabila. Thank you first of all for delivering this amazing masterclass for us on what your body needs, what your body needs us to know. And I think it's such an important topic, such an insightful topic, and just really excited to, get it more into it today. Hello, Catherine, welcome. Hi, Laura. Let us know, for those of you, so we can get started, who here has watched the masterclass? Now, Aisha, I'm going to start off by putting you on the spot and asking you a question, and that is, which phase of your cycle are you in right now? I'm going to ask all of you right now.
It's completely, and this is one of the things I wanted to address in our call today is, yes, you can plan things according to your cycle phase, but then life is going to happen and, you're going to be thrown off. So I was supposed to be in like a better phase. I'm actually waiting for my period. So I'm actually quite depleted in my energy. And so today, Alia, you know me, I'm like a pretty energetic person. But that doesn't mean that it stops you from doing things that you want to do, right? So I made sure, and that's kind of why I had yesterday blocked off so I could have my day kind of, energy stored up for this day. And then today for the rest of the day, very few kind of patients sort of a thing. So manage it as well as you can. And, working with your flow really doesn't just mean that I don't want that guilt to set in where you don't want to be very kind of ritualistic that, okay, well, I'm in this phase, I can do this, that sort of thing. I mean, life is going to happen. Oh. You want to flow with it, right? Yeah. So often if women are experiencing periods that can be irregular sometimes, and we'll discuss that in a little bit as well, I want you to not allow that to stop you from doing things. There is this internal agitation that we feel when things go not according to plan. And that is the plan, is what I'm trying to say, is that if that's happening because of some reason you want to tap into that versus just kind of, feeling kind of that agitation towards that. I hope that makes sense. So yeah. I'm here present for you. I'm super grateful for, being able to connect with you guys and want to hear feedback and your questions as well. So I'm here to serve. But
no, definitely. I love that. It's like, looking at it, observing it, but not being so rigid and planning everything in your life around it. So, a few here. Iram says, I've watched it. Catherine says, yes, I watched it. I loved it. It was so interesting. Nabila says, I did, and I enjoyed it so much. Love that. Nabila says, haha, just waiting for mine as well. Okay, so you guys are in sync. So, and just from me then, if I'm to answer that question. I watched the masterclass. And when I was watching it, I had my calendar open as I was watching it. And, this week has been insane. So I've done a number of talks. Yesterday I did 3 talks. And by the way, for you guys watching it, I did my first in-person talk yesterday in 1 year. The first time in a year, and this morning as well. And I just loved it so much, having that in-person energy. And so, this was a very busy week for me, doing 4 talks in 2 days. And I remember watching the masterclass and then looking at the different phases and the different seasons. And I was like, oh, please don't tell me that's winter. Please don't tell me that's autumn, literally. And then I looked at my calendar and then I saw, yes, it's summer for me.
Oh, beautiful.
Hence why I've got energy today. And when I saw that, I was just so excited. I was like, thank God, that's when, and I felt, I've got a lot of energy, the last couple of days. Whereas I know myself, it's like, of course, like you said, you can still do it, but I know I would have felt so depleted afterwards.
Yeah.
So
exactly, like you become so much more magnetic around that time, around that spring ovulation time, around summertime. There really is this kind of, you know, beautiful energy. It's kind of like spring that we're witnessing right now, where the green under the snow is coming out. There's just this beautiful, refreshing energy that you have and you can carry forward in your life. Versus if you see in your fall, it's kind of like you're giving energy, but there's a lot of resistance to it. There's a lot of like, you know, you're feeling like you're getting more drained quicker. Yeah. Versus you're able to readily flow, right? So easily give that energy out. So I'm glad that it was summer and spring for you. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And I had a little laugh to myself. Thank you everyone as well in the comments. You know, I was thinking, oh, okay, you're more magnetic during this time. So if you're scheduling in dates, for example, like first dates, definitely guys, during spring and summer.
Yeah, no, actually ovulation time, exactly where you want to be. Yeah. We say you're a little bit more like playful as well. You're a little bit more, you know, you're a bit more, you have a bit more confidence to take, you know, if there's any kind of criticism or negative remarks, you kind of let it slide by, versus if you're in the winter or fall phase, that would kind of stick with you a little bit longer, and that would, you know, it hurt. So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, it's, and by the way, I just think it's so beautiful being a woman, by the way. I think
I love being a woman.
Oh,
I love it.
Definitely. I mean, and to have all these changes and experiences. And I remember I was talking to one of my guy friends about this. I was actually telling him about this, and then I was like, you know, there are times where we're more intuitive during the month, we're more confident. And he was like, oh, wow. I was like, do guys have something like this? I was like, nope. Nope. You guys are just like this all the time. I was like, no, really, with these superpowers. So, and I think, you know, one of the things I loved about your masterclass is it's really, I think it put like what I thought anyway, like a positive perspective, a positive spin on our menstrual cycles, because I think my whole life really, I mean, I've had a period, wow, probably for what, I don't know.
We've dreaded it, right?
18, 19 years, crazy to think about it. And it's like, oh, you always think about it in a very negative way. You know, we think of periods as, oh God, my period, it's, you know, putting my life on hold. But just kind of, you know, learning more about this, it's like, as you mentioned, we can really use it to our power, to our strength. So for those of you, you know, watching, let us know, you know, if you have any comments. So Lamia is saying, you know, I'm in my winter right now as well. Okay, if you're in your winter. So, you know, this is a Q&A. So let us know any questions you have, any insights, any thoughts. Please just, you know, keep them coming in the chat today. So I really wanted to kind of start off by, you know, just talking a little bit about stress. Actually, I think stress is, you know, a great topic, and you touched on it as well in the masterclass. So, you know, you specialize in hormones, you know, hormones in women and hormonal changes. And a big part of our hormones can really be affected by stress, right? So I think it'd be really interesting and really insightful to know a little bit more about how, when we go through periods of stress, and of course this time especially has been very, very stressful, how does stress affect our hormones?
Yeah, so, you know, we always look at the body from a holistic overall, like you're a one machine unit versus you are just one part kind of perspective. And that's as naturopathic medicine, the principles of that. And so with that, we always say that, you know, it's not just that we want to target your hormones, we want to target everything else in your body that also is connected to your hormones. And you said it really well. Stress by far is the, you know, most common factor that can shift your hormones immediately. And in my masterclass, we talk about how your period is your monthly report card. And I want that to set in, because you can shift your health the next month. You have the power to do that by the things that you do, the things that you eat, the people that you interact, the ways you interact. We talked about the times where you want to be interacting and giving versus saying no. And so it's really important for us to first own into understand, what does stress present in me like? And then the connection of it is that, you know, your body is only 100% when you sleep at night. You charge it like your phone.
Yeah.
And you only have 100% till you do something, you know, whether you recharge yourself, whether you're doing meditation during the day, prayers, eating, stepping away from work for a little bit and doing like a quick short walk. All those things allow you to recharge. It's kind of like you see your phone battery dropping and you kind of plug it in really quickly, but you got to use it, so you got to detach it, right? So we talk about how you are one reserve, and you can either up it or you can drain it. And usually folks are just churning out in the day, and their energy is just, you know, it's 100%, it's just depleting by the end of the day. Now, stress short-term is a good thing. That is cortisol, the hormone cortisol. Some of you might have heard of that. It is meant to allow you to do certain things in the day. So when you wake up in the morning and you see sunlight, it amounts a response in the body, which is an increased production of cortisol, or the stress hormone. And that gives you kind of the, okay, gotta get up from bed. Some people struggle with that. So those who are burnt out, who have, you know, just burnt out their resources, their phone isn't charging 100% because there's like a glitch in the wire or something like that. And so typically within an hour of waking, you should reach your highest energy, which comes from cortisol. Now, here in North America, where we have 6 months of no sun, or in the UK or many other parts of the world, it is a struggle to get out of bed. And so there are devices that we have which emit kind of sun light, kind of similar simulation. We say open up the blinds and, like, you know, go outside and look. So we will notice there is that correlation in the body. Now, that cortisol can either get quickly depleted, or it can be, you know, sustained during the day. So instead of the curve going like a steep kind of decline, we can keep it a little bit flatline for a little bit for it to come down, because it should reduce by the end of the day so that you can go to bed. So the cortisol that you make in the morning keeps you wired, it keeps you active, along with other hormones. So we talked about the estrogen and the progesterone in the class. The estrogen giving you the confidence, the oomph to go. The cortisol is also related to that. I don't want to get into too much technical terms, but when we see that now, let's say you are presented with 10 stressful situations in a day, that can be smaller stressors. I am not talking about big stressors. That is, you know, a car crash, like a health incident, or someone passing away. Yes, those are stressful. Those are, you know, acute, short, very stressful. But what gets your body is that long-term short stressors. So that can be multiple notifications on your phone, right? Like, we're constantly being blasted. Before, back in the day, if someone had to reach you, they had to come to your door. Think about those notifications as someone at your door. So your mom coming at your door, the next minute your friends at your door. That is stressful for the body, because you are designed to do a task well. Your body's trying to work for you. And what you notice is that when you space your out, spread yourself so thin by doing so many multiple things, the kid and, you know, the husband and colleagues and all of that, those are smaller stressors in the day, and it depletes you really quick. The way you perceive things. So if someone said that is where stress lies, I think for like 80% of our stress is like in how we perceive and tell ourselves a story. So my coworker said this, I wonder if she meant this. Why did she say that way? That sort of a thing. And then there are obviously other, like, you know, if you're going through COVID right now is a stressor, right? Like, one of the major things, not knowing, uncertainty is a stressor for a lot of people. So you want to be able to dive into that from a mindset level. But what happens is that because your body is trying to help you with that stress, try to get you through it, it has to put something on the back burner. It has to put something on hold. So what happens is that when you're making so much cortisol to deal with all these stressors, your body then figures out, okay, you know what? I cannot put 100% towards this stressor, or I want to put 100% towards it. I got to shut something off, right? So it's kind of like on your phone, if you have multiple tabs open, or your laptop, it slows down. So if you switch some off or you turn some off, that's when your efficiency increases. And so what happens, unfortunately, for females, in that moment of stress, it's not priority to make a baby. It's not priority to have a period, right? So that is put on, the first thing that I see in women is where stress, where high functioning is, that is put on hold. Your thyroid can go down, digestive system, immune system, we know goes down. So we're telling those who are really stressed during COVID is to manage their stress, because that's really important. And in fact, there's a direct link. The progesterone hormone that we make in the second half, that is your slow down hormone. After we make progesterone, we actually make cortisol. So I want that to sit in for a little bit, because if you're making more cortisol, you're actually depleting your progesterone faster.
Right. Okay.
And so more stress on that.
Then, so it's what does that mean for us?
So that means that you now have less progesterone in your body in your second half. And when you have less progesterone, which is meant to calm you down, which is meant to slow you down, you feel more irritable, you feel more burnt out. You don't have those calming effects of progesterone in your second half. And so usually what we look at in women who have a lot of those PMS symptoms right before their period, again, if they're doing what they're doing in the first half, that is stressful for the body, right? Because you should only be focusing on allowing your body to make more of that calming progesterone hormone. But now, because you're doing equivalent amount of tasks that you were doing in your first phase, which is the go, go, go hormone, you're doing everything, saying yes to everything, you're burning your body out. It's making more cortisol because it's stressful for the body to do it at that point. And that's where you feel all those symptoms. Your periods can become irregular again because cortisol, which will actually, if you don't have optimal amounts of your progesterone and cortisol, and that's what I think has happened for me this month, unfortunately, you will notice that, why is my period late this month? Yeah. Well, what did you do in those last 2 weeks? What did you do in that whole month, right? You need to look into that. Did I take a little bit more than I was supposed to? Yeah. Did I undereat? There's so many other factors, but
yeah. So you're saying it's the month before. So it's not necessarily the week before, you know, like, oh, I've had a very busy week. I've had a busy 2 weeks now. My period is late. It's actually the month before, which is very
because day one, exactly. Because day one is when your period starts, but it reflects the month before. It reflects on the energy, the tasks that you've done the month prior to. So for example, right now, so let's say I started with winter, right? So my season is like, I'm going to have my period. That's done. That's case over. Now, what I do with my season of spring and summer will dictate how my fall and winter will be like, right? So it's kind of like, okay, how many tasks did I put in? Did I burn myself out further? Did I do more tasks in my fall? And my winter, am I still doing those tasks? And that's where you notice that impact then. Think of the period as the end of everything, sort of, right? So I know the way we present it in the masterclass is day 1, period 30, so that can be a little confusing, but if you kind of flipped it around for a little bit and be like, okay, the end is the period is the report card, everything else is, you know, a reflection of that. That's kind of the test, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, wow, it's actually such a blessing that we have this, because really it's like our period is a signal to tell us what's going on for us right now. So yeah, like for example, if our period is late, then it's for us to check in and think, okay, what's going on for me right now? And for those of you watching this, let us know if this resonates. You know, have you experienced this before? Maybe you've had a stressful time and you found that you've had you know, more pain, or it's been late, or I mean, were you able to make some connections, you know, from this masterclass, or, you know, during this live now? Let us know your insights. So we have a question, and it kind of links to what we've just spoke about now. So Catherine asks, just wondering if you have any tips for raising your energy in winter.
Yeah, so all the things that we mentioned in the winter phase. So remember, so the best way to increase your winter energy would be to really optimize in fall, which would be that you want to start saying no to things. So all the things that we want to then put a hold on, right, is the way that you can actually preserve the energy and work in your reserve. So that is, you know, if you're hosting, if you're going out, so a woman, look at your body's natural tendencies. That's the best way to answer it. So your tendency is typically, okay, I don't want to do a lot of this physical tasks. I don't want to go and socialize a lot, because that drains energy off of you, right? Especially if you're an introvert. And so, you know, being able to kind of put a hold on those, not starting new tasks, because that demands a lot of creative energy. It demands a lot of not physical, but also mental energy. And so you want to be able to preserve those. And other ways that you can optimize it would be to spend that time with yourself. And, you know, that means in a way, you know, you're not spending time with others, but you're also looking in yourself inwardly to see what are things that I want to maximize. I want to maximize when spring and summer comes. So what I usually like to do is a lot of reflection is what we recommend in the fall winter phase. Yeah. The winter phase, you want to be eating foods that are vibrant as well. So these are foods that have high energies. Those are typically your closest to nature foods. So not your processed foods. These are
what you're tempted to eat during that time.
And vegetables fresh. You can cook them, you can saute them, make smoothies and juices. Those are really good. So things that are building you from an energetic perspective, but also giving yourself the nutrients, making sure that you're eating. A lot of women, because they're a little bit like, you know, it's a little bit of an uncomfortable phase for some people, will undereat. And that will affect your body as well. So you want to make sure that you're having, good amounts of protein, your fats, your carbs. You can do, and we mentioned a little bit about the red tent situation back in the day where women, when they were menstruating, they would go collectively engage with other women who are in the same phase, and you can draw upon each other's energy. You can draw upon that collective wisdom, whether you're spiritual or not. You can draw into your body and you gain energy from there. So spiritual energy is very different. Those of you who fast in or do fasting for Lent or fasting for Ramadan that's coming up, you notice that, food doesn't give you all the energy that you need. It does to, a certain point, but you also have this surge of spiritual energy. And so that's such a beautiful, powerful thing to tap into that you can do around that time. Let me know if that makes any sense or any further follow-up questions on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what you said about nutrition as well, the foods we eat, because I know that it can be super tempting when you're in winter. And yes, Hanuf, winter is during the menstruation is you just want to eat all the bad stuff, right? I know I love my cookies and my carbs, and that's just the go-to kind of food, really.
On that point, actually, I should mention, usually when you're getting closer to your period, you also want to be eating more. So there is this natural chemical desire to eat more. Unfortunately, we're just eating the wrong foods. And the reason is because when you're in your second half, remember what happens before that. There could be potentially conception. And so your body is wired to support that. You would need more nutrients to support if there was a pregnancy. And that means that you would then eat more. And so naturally in that progesterone phase, a lot of women will label it as PMS cravings. And, yes, there is an imbalance if you have a sugar imbalance, but most women we're seeing their sugars, their insulin is okay. It's just that the body actually needs, and I have that post on my Instagram, it's called why is there an increase in calories that your body needs in the second half? And so you want to actually eat more in your second half. And those are good things. So eating more of the proteins, fats, low sugar foods, eat your natural sugars. So your grapes, your bananas. I like to drizzle some almond butter on it. It's like a good fat and protein source. Just don't bring the bad stuff at home. Like around that time, unless you're really dedicated. I mean, it's really ease of access now. You can deliver things at home, but I think if you don't have it at home, no one really goes out at night. And
So what I love about what you're saying is really to be proactive about it, knowing knowing during the time of your cycle, preparing. So get those high energy foods, get the foods in the fridge, rather than being reactive and being like, oh, I've got my cravings, right, get all the bad stuff. So that's super useful to know. Thank you. So just to read out some of the comments. So Ahlam says, I actually missed my period last month, and I was wondering, is there any reasons other than stress? For example, as you said, eating less. And she said, yes, definitely. When watching the masterclass made so much sense. It was like a light bulb going off. I'll be aware of tracking my month. So so are there any other reasons other than stress? Like you said, eating less.
Absolutely. Yeah, so stress is just one of the reasons, right? Undereating is, I think, the second most common, and maybe what I was a culprit of this month, just because, again, really fast managing food, and I didn't want to eat junk, so I was trying to I just want to do home cooked, and then I don't eat. So you want a balanced life, and so undereating, again, the hormones that you make, your estrogen, progesterone, are all based off fat. They're actually made from a molecule cholesterol, good cholesterol, okay, not your bad French fry dipped in oil kind of thing. So olive oil, coconut oil, avocados, your nuts have a lot of good fat in them. And so when we screen diets, and that's what we do in my practice, is that we will fill out like a good weekly document of what you've eaten, and you can do this at home as well. Just make sure you go through the day and see, did you get your daily intake of fats, your daily intake of, there are apps as well, daily intake of proteins. And what we're seeing is that there's undereating. There's a lot more carbs on our plate, right? Like usually our plate, the way we're designed is that it should be full of more rice, more like spaghetti or bread. But we should be doing only a quarter of that. In fact, that's for every meal that's what the limit should be. Not eating enough of those fats can definitely contribute towards having irregular cycles or skipped periods. There are other factors, so it could be another condition or disease that you have that I would recommend for you to discuss with your doctor, especially if it's happening over and over again. Once in a while, it's okay. So in a month, or in a year, sorry, if you skip it once or twice, but it goes and normalizes, we say then that's okay. Not to worry about it too much, but if it's consistently happening or you're noticing that your periods are either getting too short or longer, that's when you want to go in and get a check, to just make sure that there are not any other, there's thyroid that's connected to it, insulin resistance, there's so many things, and so those are the things that a doctor would want to rule out for sure. Over exercising being the third one. So remember in the masterclass we talked about in the first half when you have estrogen, making sure that is when you can do all the high intensity stuff. So cardio, Zumba for all of you guys who like that. High intensity. Yeah. All those high intensity stuff, cardio, you can do that in the first 2 weeks. If you're doing those in the second 2 weeks, you are burning more reserve for your body. And again, your body's going to then decide, she's burning me really fast. What do I want to put on hold? Guess what? It's going to be a period. And so in the second 2 weeks, you want to do things that are a bit more calming. That's, you can do walks, you can do swimming is actually really great. It's gentler. You can do stretches, yoga, Tai Chi, all of those things are really great.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. Over exercise, that's a great one. I actually, so I joined a new gym literally 2 weeks ago, and I've been doing Zumba twice a week, which has been so fun. Oh my gosh, it's like a Brazilian guy who runs the class. It's so fun.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and I alternate. So I alternate between Zumba, yoga, and running and HIIT in the mornings. And I've always noticed, when my period is due the few days before, I don't want to do HIIT workouts. I don't really want to run a lot of the time either. So I just usually stick to yoga. My body is, I think maybe in the past I did kind of push through it and I was like, no, I need to run. But
we all did,
yeah. But I've just been so much kinder to myself, and I'm like, no, my body is, because again, it's like you can fall into the trap of thinking, well, no, I've got to start my mornings with my run. That's what I do. That's
exactly, because you have a routine. Yeah,
exactly. But then
what we want to create is a biphasic routine, and that's hopefully what I think a lot of people, I hope that people took away from the masterclass, is that you can create two routines, right? Like you can create for the first 2 weeks and the 2 weeks, and so you can still have, I want to run the first half and then just yoga in the next few days, and it's okay to have two routines.
Yeah,
in fact, it's needed. Your body needs that.
Yeah, definitely. So just thinking about that then for the next 2 weeks. It makes sense that I joined the gym and I've been doing Zumba in my spring and summer. But then now I guess in the next 2 weeks I'll see, how I feel. Do I want to get up at 6, 7 a.m. to go? I don't know if I'll want to.
You could do yoga at that time. I mean,
exactly.
Pilates,
So you mentioned about, food, nutrition. So, obviously we have Ramadan coming up next month, in a few weeks, actually about 5 weeks. And I've never actually thought about the connection. I don't actually remember my menstrual cycle last year while I was fasting. I think it was either at the beginning or the end. I can't remember now. But how does it affect? Does it have an impact on our cycle, fasting? I've never thought about it before.
So I do see, again, it's very based on, so what I say usually to women who are going into fasting, Ramadan season, and I observe that as well, is the months before not to be doing like heavy fasting, because a lot of people will be they're doing their makeup fasts, or they're just used to fasting, like, on the recommended days, Mondays, and that sort of a thing, is to do it with ease so that you're prepared for that month long. But it's also a great time, and one of the blessings is that it was made easy for women. That is where that, she is then not fasting on the days that she has her period. There is a fluctuation that I have noticed in practice with patients. And again, if they're not preparing for it, then we will notice. And especially those who are more prone to it, not everyone witnesses it, but for me, for sure, certainly, because of that under eating, if I'm not matching my calories in the day. So making sure that when you open your fast, you eat nutritious things, you eat the right portion of things versus, I remember when I was back in the UAE, I missed the time, because obviously Ramadan has done so much, with so much joy and celebration, and things that it was so special. But there was a lot of that, in our homes, there was a lot of fried foods that we would go into first.
Pakoras,
And
samosas, all of that. Yeah.
I get into kind of the main meal. And so now, being more educated, it's I'm doing it well in the way where I start with, like, we usually do the soup or the fruits just to kind of get your system warmed up a little bit. And then you eat your meals. And I mean, in Millie's anyways, we're heavy on the protein, but there's a lot of carbs that come with it, right? So making sure that you're mindful of the amount of carbs that you're putting, because that's quick energy, right? That gets burnt out in the next hour. It doesn't sustain you. What your body needs is that at the end of the day is repletion from like your protein and your fat sources, a lot of hydration. So, if you're able to keep that in, and then obviously, Ramadan's a time of reflection. It's a time of spiritually, being more in touch with yourself. If you can spend the time, you're automatically slowing down. So if you're taking care of that, and a lot of places accommodate, right, when they're allowed to either come in a little bit later, go a little bit later. It's been special last year because we were all home, and it was nice to have that where we didn't have that stressor of going to work and, doing work. Unfortunately, here in the North America, we don't have that. If we're able to kind of work with our schedules, that's pretty much it, but we're expected to still be on time, that sort of thing, and sometimes we're breaking our fast at work. But so just being mindful of what your body's needs are. If you have a medical condition, talk to your doctor, see if fasting is a good thing. So in my family we have someone who has diabetes and cannot fast for long amounts, so don't work against your body. Fasting was prescribed, and it's also it's with in mind that those can have medical conditions, and you don't want to tax your body. Like, it's balance that you want to attain. I know for me, with my past and when I had medical conditions in the past, I couldn't do fasting longer than 10 days, and I would just be extremely weak and lethargic. And so work with your body. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. It's really useful. So, and like you said, during that month, it's a kind of time to slow down and rest if possible as well. And just of course, be mindful of what you're eating, get loads of protein in, and eat healthily during that month as well. So Ahlam says, thank you, Aisha, for answering her question about, the delay in period. So useful. So thank you for that. So Ahlam says, complex carbs is a good substitute, like sweet potatoes, etc. Okay, fab, thank you. So Nabila has a question, and it is, hi Aisha, just wondering if you have personally seen patients with endometriosis benefit from botanical medicine.
Yeah, so my practice
is... Can you actually explain what botanical medicine is?
Yeah,
yeah, doesn't know what it is.
Sorry, endometriosis or... Botanical medicine.
Botanical medicine, and endometriosis for anyone who is reading and doesn't know. Yeah, if that's right. Okay.
So in my practice, I heavily focus on women's health, and that includes endometriosis. I see a lot of patients with that. So what is endometriosis? It is a condition where women can have debilitating pains with their periods, usually a month long. Some don't, some do. And it's also, they have masses or cysts in their bodies. They're benign, so they're not cancerous, but some can be filled with fluid. I've seen ones with 7 centimeters, 5 centimeters. They're pretty big in the body, and some people, and there are multiple of them as well. Now, usually conventionally, what's recommended for that is, your birth control. Surgery as well is often recommended to remove these, but unfortunately what we see happening is that these keep coming back because, again, you haven't fixed the root cause. Why did it become to originate with? I'll go into botanical medicine and come back to the endometriosis bit as to what I do. So botanical medicine is basically plant medicine, or herbal medicine, as it's known in many different places of the world. It's actually what real medicine was back in the day. So when you take a plant, for example, let's say chamomile, or mint, or one of the common ones, it has a property to it. So it can do certain things, right? So for example, mint can, really help soothe your digestive system, can help with gas and bloating. It's cooling as well. And so when we use that plant, now it grounded and, put in a capsule, that is called botanical medicine. When we extract from that plant a chemical active component, that is when it becomes a pharmaceutical medicine. And I've worked in the pharmaceutical. My previous job before I was a naturopathic doctor was a microbiologist in pharmaceutical firms. I was heavy on research and science. Yeah. And there's a place for that. So for example, aspirin is actually made from willow bark tree. It's a bark of a tree. From that tree, the bark, they've taken out the active component, acetaminophen or for aspirin, and they've basically potentized it. They made it strong so it works fast. When you extract from nature, it's no longer natural. That is when it's a medicine, pharmaceutical medicine. When you keep it as whole, like the whole bark, for example, that is when it is plant medicine. Now, the reason the question you might be asking is, well, why would we use this, and when we would use both? Because there's a place for both. Now, typically medicine that is been pharmaceutical is usually more faster acting. It has side effects. When we use plant medicine or whole medicine, you know, God has made it such that within the plant, there are other things that prevent the side effects. And so it's as whole, it has other components to it that maybe science hasn't still researched. And that's kind of where medicine originated from. You know, back in the day, we didn't know like what chemical structure. We just took this plant and we're like, oh, how do we use that? There's a time and place for both. So I don't want you to believe that, you know, one is right or wrong. There's a time and place for both. If you are suffering right now, you need fast care. That is when you need to do pharmaceutical care. And there are certain things that only pharmaceuticals can do that natural can. And when you need a little bit more, so we're talking about long-term solutions, we're talking about preventative, less side effects, that's when we tap into plant medicine. And there's a lot of research. So in different parts of the world, it's practiced differently. In North America, in Australia, we as naturopathic doctors study this plant. We study the chemical properties just like we study the medicines or pharmaceuticals. So we study within this, is it safe? What are the components that will affect the health outcomes? If we can use it with this medicine together. So, you know, that is kind of what we study as naturopathic doctors. And in traditional sense, you know, that's part of herbalists or herbalism. So that's part of our training, plus the research with it. Now, going back to endometriosis, what we do is we look into why are you making those masses? Or why is your body now in that inflamed state? There's a lot of research coming out right now where they're saying endometriosis is in fact maybe an autoimmune condition. We look at how your body is eliminating hormones. So what I see in endometriosis patients that we were successfully able to treat is that their body doesn't eliminate estrogen as well. It isn't a production issue. You're making normal amounts of both, but it's that your body isn't eliminating it as well. Your body has its own way of correcting things. And that's what we work as with naturopathic doctors. We want to help it do its job better. And with those who have endometriosis, we see that there's a little bit of that. The body's not doing its job better in breaking things down, right? So things are always growing in us. We just never catch them. We're not running MRIs on us daily. But your body has a mechanism, it's called the antioxidants that help break things down. And we're seeing that process is just slowed down. So we work on that. There are a couple other things there's a lot of diet, lifestyle stuff that we work on. So there are things that can be done from a botanical or herbal medicine standpoint. You just want to find a doctor who is trained in it and focuses on it.
For sure. Okay, that's amazing. Thank you for answering that in such depth. You talked about in the masterclass, you spoke about something really interesting. You spoke about emotions that get stuck emotions within us, and
I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yes, very interesting. I think it's definitely something to explore a bit more. So, you know, if we're experiencing emotions, maybe stress, sadness, we hold that, our body holds on to that, right? And I would love for you to kind of explain a little bit more of how does that manifest into our body. So what are the kind of signs that we are carrying emotions that are stuck within us?
Yeah, so I mentioned a couple of things in the masterclass around the emotions part is that, you know, one, I think the awareness now that people know that emotions can get in their body, it will click to them automatically. They will notice that, you know what, when I'm angry, I feel this particular, it's very different for every individual. For example, for me, when I'm angry, initially when I was a kid, I would get like shaky. Or my head, I would feel like, you know, pressure build in it. And some of us, and I mean, it wasn't like the extreme amount of anger, it was just even a little bit. Now it presents as kind of like my heart gets agitated. I feel like palpitations. Other things like sadness can present very differently. So each emotion presents in a person very differently and sits in a different part. There is the collective kind of research base where we say that there are certain areas it sits in, and this is based on Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine. We say sadness sits in the lungs, we say fear sits in the liver, the gallbladder, or anger sits there. So based on that, there are, but I always look at the individual, and that's what's beautiful about the naturopathic medicine, is that we look at each individual and I get them to look inside themselves and come back to me with that feedback. So what I want for all of you to do is that if you want to do a kind of a journey, an emotional journey journal where you're writing, okay, so sadness. This month, I'm going to focus on sadness. Look at where and how it presents in your body. Do you start to feel slow? The sadness is a very negative emotion as well. You feel lethargic. Some people are sleeping more. You feel you can't breathe sometimes. So it's very different in each person. For women, though, because we create, you know, in our pelvic area, our emotions can be very present there. And so with that endometriosis question, in fact, what I see as a repetitive cycle in those who have endometriosis or fibroids or PCOS, anything that is circle, is that they have a same old story pattern that is repeating in them. It's usually grief is what we see, that the emotion that they've held on to is grief, or this frustration from the past kind of a thing that they need to let go of. So, you know, I want you to tap into that. And when I explore this with women, it's just so profound. I just got chills because they realize that when they let go of that energy, it's almost like they feel like they're breathing. It's almost like, you know, if you hold your breath for a little bit and you can then breathe, it's almost that experience that they experience. And the health then becomes so much quicker, faster. So with individuals who want to explore that, I don't, you know, it's up to every person if they're comfortable with that. It's, you know, and it's understandable. People are a little bit, emotions are hard to work with, right? It shifts so much in us. We see that their health, you know, if my timeline to get them better was, let's say 6 months, they get better in 3 months or faster. It's a lot more kind of, there's a lot more to that, but I hope that I answered.
Yeah. So is it important for, you know, everyone to see a professional to help them with this, or are there things that people can do? Are there other things that people can do, for example, within their home or on a daily basis, if they feel something within themselves, they're feeling that physical symptom? Is there something that they can do in that moment to kind of, you know, release?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think if you wanna get somewhere in life, you want someone who does it well, who can show you it, right? If you're learning to swim, you want to go to a swim coach. If you want to get a good job, you want to go through an institution, a university, college that gives you the tools to do that. So similarly, if you want to learn about your emotions, emotional regulation, or to even know, like, you know, what presents, I would recommend a coach. Ali, if you know of any, or if you do that, then, you know, that's something that you would be able to provide. But these are usually, therapists are usually skilled in that, and they're able to tap into your emotions and get you to figure out what's going on and what needs to be healed. Sorry, the other part of your question was?
Oh, no, it's actually just linked to a question that's just come up, is how can we free ourselves? So let's say if someone doesn't want to go to professional, ideally 100% recommended to go to professional, but maybe that everyone doesn't want to. So other things that, you know, we can do as individuals, you know, in our own homes to help with this.
So first thing is being aware, asking yourself, maybe if we can link that or send that to you, Ali. Have a video, which I'll post again, maybe on self-soothing emotions. And so what you want to do first is, you know, isolate yourself so that you can recognize what's going on, right? It's so chaotic sometimes. You have to step away from the situation. Ask yourself, what emotion am I feeling? And I want you to answer it. So if you guys want to do it together, we can actually just do it together right now. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. So all of you, what emotion am I feeling right now?
What emotion am I feeling right now? And when you answer, I want you to respond saying, I feel da 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 da. Because what we usually do is we put thoughts inside. This happened, that happened. No, I want you to say, I feel, and then an emotion. I'll give you examples. There is sadness, happiness, grief, fear, nervousness, kind of an emotion, anger. So I want you to label it, or as closely as possible to any of these. There's so many more words for emotions. And so when you feel that, I want you to pay attention to where you feel it in your body. So I am actually feeling a lot of peace. It's not an emotion, but I'm going to say joy, happiness. And I'm feeling it here. I'm feeling it in my heart. And what I like to do is place my hand on that just so I can pay attention to it.
Yeah.
For the next few seconds, I want you to actually feel the emotion. So feel it in its fullness, whether it's anger, sadness, worry, and just feel it. Emotions are usually just a signal from your body. It's just a way for your body to get your attention. Just like pain is. It's kind of like a 2-year-old child that is trying to get your attention. Mommy, 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 mommy. He just wants to say something. Similarly, emotions is coming from that 2-year-old part of yourself, and it's trying to get your attention. Now, what I want you to do is once you've felt that emotion, I want you to ask yourself, what is the message that you're telling me?
Mm-hmm.
And once you're able to listen to that message, the next step is really as beautiful and as simple as honoring it. What do I need to do for that? So asking yourself, okay, what do I need to do? And whether that is a long-term action, whether it's a short-term, the fact that you heard yourself, you were able to listen to that message, takes that emotion away. And that is what we do in counseling and therapy, is that this is what you can do. So this is called self-soothing in a way, where you ask yourself, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now. You know, this situation around me, okay, I'm feeling anxious. This is what it feels like. Okay, what is it telling me? I am feeling anxious because I feel like I'm not coming across as well as I want to, or people are perceiving or judging, sort of thing, right? Sorry, a call just came in there. And then, okay, what do I need, or what do I need to do? And that could be that I want to reaffirm my worth. I want to reaffirm to myself that, no, you're confident, you know, whatever the task, detach yourself from that situation, go drink water, do some push-ups or something of that sort. It literally is that emotions are not you. Yeah. They're a signal that something has happened that was against your value or your inner beliefs. And it shook you. It shook kind of the spiritual side of you almost. It's agitated you in a little bit. And you want to listen to that message, because then that just seeds in the body. If you don't listen to it, it comes out next time louder and louder and louder, and it can become uglier. And that's, for me, I shared my story in the masterclass where the anger that I had from my past became, I suppressed it because I didn't know how to deal with it either. Like, what do you do with sadness? Yeah. How do you regulate that? And became more angrier, and that became into depression and anxiety. Again, very different for people. It could be anger, it could be sadness, frustration, but you want to regulate it on a daily basis. I hope that helps you guys. How did you guys feel after, if you can share?
Yeah, let us know. I think it's really powerful. It's very soothing even just listening to it as well. And those of you, here, let us know, what came up for you, what feeling came up, what emotion came up for you. And as you mentioned, we're not our emotions, we're not our thoughts, we're not our feelings. And by doing that, by just kind of slowing things down, taking a moment to be mindful, we can observe it, right? We can observe it, see what's going on, and then let it go. And then, as you mentioned, we don't have to, we can decide what we want to do about it. We take back the power rather than it owning us. We get to take back our power and decide, okay, what do I want to do about this now? Do I want to hold on to it? Do I want to let it go? Do I want to act on it? So something as powerful as that, just slowing things down to connect with ourselves, this is really powerful.
That's pretty much it. Health is all around that. It's all around being able to slow down and assess from a little bit of a distance. Yeah. And then dictate, how do I want to react to the situation or whatever that is. And you don't always have to react immediately. You can always put it aside. But the fact that you kind of blew off steam is what we call it, right? So when you are paying attention to the emotion and you're feeling it, in that moment, it's like the emotion in your head is like, oh my God, it's a mountain. But then when you pay attention to it, it's like a mole. It's like you've just taken some steam out of it, and it doesn't have to control your body, because what can happen is with emotions, it can really ride our body. And I definitely, as a young individual back, few years ago, I would be so emotionally charged and then be like, how did this, like injustice is something that gets me,
Yeah.
especially against women.
Yeah.
Like I would stand, like, I have friends who wear the hijab, and, if someone would say something, and I'd be like, go up to them, like, how dare you?
Yeah.
But it would be so, you can say things beautifully, you can say them really well, and that is what I think every religion teaches, is to do it with kindness. And it's unkind for me to say it in a very negative way. So I had to learn to kind of like, first is okay, I understand that they don't understand this, and then allow that to dissipate a little bit, and then you can control and be beautiful in that manner. And beauty attracts beauty, and peace attracts peace, right? So you always want to meet with good, beautiful, positive energy.
Yeah, absolutely. A lovely note to end on. Thank you. And Amira says, thank you so much, Doctor, for answering the question. Very helpful and useful. So thank you for that. Alan says, why is it mostly stuck in the hips? So we have the emotions. Why? I think you touched on it actually very briefly, but I thought if there's anything you can expand on around that area. So why as women do we mainly, do our emotions get trapped?
Yeah, so the hips is kind of the center of your body. When we think about it, center of the body from like a structural standpoint, from a spiritual energetic standpoint, it's your heart. And so the hips for women is where, one, it's obviously where our hormones and like our ovaries and all of that is. It's where energy flows through our body in a particular way. And so that's a little bit deeper medicine, like energy medicine, that sort of a thing, from Chinese medicine, that sort of a thing. And in women, we notice that that's just, that's the signal of the place where creation occurs, where a lot of that emotional regulation, because we as women we're the chosen creators of life. We create, we give birth. And we are connected to that part so deeply. Back in the day when women had to give birth or were pregnant, they didn't have pregnancy tests. They just knew when they would feel it.
Yeah.
And so the feels of a woman is really connected with that part, with her womb. And that is where she has that sense, she has that inner instinct. When a mother feels something, where does she feel it? Like people will say their heart, their gut, or their womb. Like there is that, your belly button. A mother has like strong connection with her child. Like, yes, it is severed when they're cut, but that stays. Like she will feel it in that area. And her gut is actually her belly button area, because she is still energetically connected to her children. Anywhere, her kids can be anywhere in the world, revolving and doing anything, but she will feel it and sense it there. There's a lot more wisdom to that, and I encourage you to look into the womb wisdom. So like wisdom around, healing. Now, I'm not saying that it's always going to be the hip. It can be anywhere else for a lot of people, but I'm saying that collectively, let's say I have 100 women, what I see is that in that, or from what the research says, this isn't just my kind of research, we see that 79% of them will be like, okay, it's stuck in the hip area. So there's a lot of that kind of research, but also ancient wisdom that we tap into. But always look into, your whole body, do a whole body scan, look at, like I said, pay attention to yourselves. Every person can be very different. Usually those who have period issues or around women's health, fertility health, it's usually that they're holding on in that particular area. And other people, I mentioned very briefly about women and thyroid issues that I see quite a bit as well. At the end of the masterclass. So some people will have stuck energies in their thyroid or in their throat area before it presents and become a thyroid issue. And so we talked about how we can regulate kind of that energy as well. You can look into the chakra system as well, where we talk about how different points of energy in the body and the associated kind of emotions or the associated kind of stability that is required. And that can give you more insights.
Wow, there's just so much, isn't there? I feel like we could
talk so much information, but like I'm
hours. No, it is. It's all amazing. You're just showing so much. It's really, really insightful, and wow, it is really fascinating as well. I feel like this is only a little glimpse, really, of the mind, body, and as you mentioned, there are 4 different areas as well. Like there's our spiritual mind as well, emotional, physical, mental. So it's so interlinked as well. I'm just going to read out a couple of comments, and we only have a few minutes left, so if you have any final questions, any final thoughts, please do share them here. So Iram says, I was feeling sad and anxious. What I love about the masterclass is that it really teaches you to be in touch with your body, really good follow on from our self-love sessions. I'm really glad to hear that. So it teaches you how to be. So yeah, Dr. Aisha said, thank you for, you know, really giving that insight in the masterclass. Nabila says, I felt overwhelmed, but after the self-soothing task, I felt slightly more aware and relaxed. We'll start to use this technique. Thank you. Amazing. And then Aham says, thank you, doctor, for sharing all these gems and giving you hearts. Nabila says, really wanted to study the menstrual cycle more, and I've started tracking mine, but your diagram was helpful. Thank you for the masterclass and today's Q&A. Amazing.
Thank you guys. Thanks for your feedback. It helps. And also for responding in such a kind way. It was really created, you know, in our heads we become very technical, so I'm happy that was well received and it made sense to you guys, and you're able to kind of extrapolate from it, but also integrate it into your lives, right? Because it's easy to collect all that knowledge and information, and even today I threw so much at you, but if you can do even just one thing of that, it's going to shift your life in such a tremendous and beautiful way.
Yeah, thank you so much. So Catherine says, I've learned so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Aisha. It's been so insightful. Thank you so much. Okay, amazing. So, you know, Aisha, you've created this guide, right? 7 ways to optimize your hormones. Is that right? Can you just tell us a little bit about your guide and how, well, I've shared the link. I'll reshare it again. It is in the masterclass, but I'll reshare it. So can you tell us a little bit about this guide that you've created?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Elia. So with, you know, serving a lot of women and gaining kind of that awareness for things, so a lot of the posts that I do in my social media is based on hormonal health, gut health, because they're both kind of connected together. And there's a lot of mental health aspect in it. But because I'm restricted by my license to practice in Ontario, Canada, I really wanted to create a resource that could be, you know, people can use safely in the places that they are. So for those of you in the UAE, UK, US, and it's been a lifelong project for me to put out I'm all about education. I love teaching. Interesting fact, I used to teach English before as well. So I really enjoy that and creating content. And so I wanted to make that ebook for those who wanted to just, you know, before they are ready to see a doctor or explore kind of that health, they could do a little bit of some kind of easy fixes at home to get their, you know, health better. And maybe that's it for a lot of people, because those are things that I usually say in my patient visits or consultations. And so these are things that are basically diet and lifestyle. So things that you can do we talked about under eating and all of that. So I'm talking about which quality foods that you want to be eating to regulate your periods, what things to kind of stay away from. And those are listed as just 7 easy steps to kind of, you know, optimize your hormones, whether it is endometriosis. This is a really great starting point. Irregular periods, heavy periods, painful periods, PCOS. It's a really great way to kind of, you know, give a foundation to your body and then upgrade from there. So that can be, you know, going and seeing a practitioner to add in the botanical herbal medicine we were talking about, because that's personalized, that everyone, you know, it's very unique to everyone. And so I wanted to really have that offering, and it was the goal was to have that. I didn't think I would have that in time to offer you guys. The link, I believe, Alia, so that's going to be left in the Q&A. Okay, so it is a free offering for you guys. It's now, I launched it, and then we, for my other patients, we have it at, or clients, it's at a short price mark, so it's affordable price mark. But for you guys, we've left it as that. So let me know, you know, give us feedback based on that. Send further to anyone you think might benefit from it as well. But it's just it's a little bit of my life's work in there.
Oh, thank you so much. That's amazing. Yeah. So I've posted the link. You'll see it, guys, in the masterclass with the bio. But I'm also going to post it in the Facebook group as well. So I'll post it in the Facebook group as a separate post, so you can just literally go there and download the PDF guide. So that's really amazing. Do you have 1 more minute just for one last question about teas? If you don't, because I know you're at clinic today, then it's fine. Okay.
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you. So Lamia says, I have a question. I'm on a journey discovering new types of tea and herbs for calmness and relaxation. So any herb recommendations, and what's your opinion on, is it maca? Is that how I'm saying it right? MACA or maca?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many great herbs. There's so many great herbs can be teas as well, right? So they can be made in tea form, in liquid form, capsule form. In the tea form, it is less. We would say the dose is quite less, and it's more benign, and so it's easy in that sense. Now, again, I had mentioned just briefly before that with supplements or plant medicine, it's usually individualized. That means that we want to look at the person collectively, and if this herb works for them, we want to make sure that it's not interacting with something else, that sort of thing. Maca is something that has gained popularity on, the internet, and it's a great herb to kind of it boosts from a very different way your hormones and regulate it. I think in a low dose it's potentially safe, but I would still recommend to see a practitioner to see if it's completely what you need, if it's safe, and if the dosage is right, because there are many other herbs similar to maca that can be used as well, and based on the concern that you have, right? So yeah, that's the only caveat with that. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. And let me say thank you so much, Dr. Aisha. I've learned a lot and felt powerful during the masterclass. So yeah, thank you. Sorry?
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, it's been a pleasure. And, I just think there's just so much here that we covered, and we covered so many different areas as well: nutrition, diet, emotions, exercise. And I think, yeah, there's definitely a lot to kind of digest and take away. Even, the tips on Ramadan as well. That was really useful. So please let us know, if anyone here, wants to get in touch with you, what would be the best way? How can someone go about doing that if someone wants to get in touch and connect with you?
So there's my website. I think at the end of the masterclass, I left a couple of links. My social media is there. You guys can always reach out there. My website as well, draishadurrani.com. There's a lot of information out there. There's a way for you to get in touch there's an email out there as well that you can use to get in touch with me. You can let me know that, you're part of the masterclass. I'll remember you. Do you want to leave that note in? For those of you who are, if you're in Toronto, we are trying to work and expand so that I can see patients outside as well. But for those who are in Ontario, Canada, those are the ones that I can actively see. Feel free to give me a call on the number that I have. But yeah, so those are all ways for you to get in touch. My Instagram as well, yeah. Dr. Aisha Durrani, I'm there as well, on Facebook for those of you there. But there's also a newsletter that we do monthly. So if you want to sign up for that, there's a link on my website that you can do that. So we're always spewing out this kind of information in bite size, so it's not as overwhelming. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to be part of that, we're happy to have you on board.
Perfect, thank you. So I'll drop all of that in the post as well. So the Instagram, like you said, if we sign up to your website, there's a newsletter as well. You say that we can sign up for and get some gems there as well. Perfect. So thank you so much. I think kind of brings us to the end of the session today. And again, thank you so much. I know, by the way, you talk a lot about colors and the colors that you wear. This is beautiful, by the way. Is it a shawl that you're wearing here? And something that
so it is. It's color has an impact on the mind, on the body, and the soul. Again, you guys can look into it in the chakra system. This is actually a Kashmiri shawl from Pakistan when I visited Kashmir a couple of years ago. It's actually beautiful in spring, so I'm wearing like a light base, but this is keeping me warm. So there's some beautiful colors, it brings your mood up as well. It's quite gray here in Canada when the sun isn't out, so we use kind of this as a way to boost you, but also for you guys, colors are a beautiful way to just, make you feel alive. I'm sure as women, we explore that in earrings and rings and lipstick and things like that. So you notice that impact, right? Like, it makes you feel.
Oh, definitely, 100%. I wore a bright orange top yesterday for my session in the afternoon, and then yellow.
How did you feel?
Yeah, I was like, well, my bright colors. Yes, I'm rocking the black today, but yeah, it really did give me that bright boost as well. So colors, everything. So yeah, awesome. Thank you. So we'll definitely stay connected. We'll stay in touch.
Thanks, everybody.
And we'll speak soon. Thank you so much. See you, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to all of you lovely people here. Bye bye. See you.
Bye.